Nasuth broke it.
Yeah, I broke it so much. So many breakings. You'll be sick of it. Hi! Oh, I brought my beer back up again, apparently. Let me just,
Oh, Kanpai!
I'm simulating Loz early. Poor Loz. Why? Hello! Welcome to Kanpai Cast, episode 59. We have actually finally gotten it started. Little behind the scenes. We had to start it about 3 times, because I don't know. But we're here. We are joined by ViperMenace. Hello, ViperMenace.
Hello.
What do you... Well, I should say this is episode 59, where we're going to do a genre debate, Isekai versus low fantasy versus high fantasy. But before we get into that, what do you do on the internet, Mr. Menace?
Oh, I basically do digital art for commissions, and I'm also a post-production engineer.
Nice. What's your sort of level of engagement with anime?
I mean, I've been watching anime since I was a kid. So pretty, I guess, high level.
Okay, all right. Like what's the earliest anime you've seen out of God. Out of curiosity?
So other than, Dragon Ball,
Right.
the other first show that I remember watching was Shugo Shara.
I don't think I've seen that. Have you seen that?
This.
Oh, I thought you'd seen that. Okay.
No, never. Shugo Shara.
It's a magical girl anime.
Fair.
Right. Well, so let's get right into the housekeeping so that we can actually get on to our topic later. As soon as my cat decides to get out of the way. Hi, Solaire. Thank you so much for helping out with the production. Just to remind everyone, we do have timestamps down there in the if it'll pick up my hand. Hello? Okay, whatever. Down in the description below, so you can click on those to get to the section you want to be in, or there are actual chapters in the video itself. Also, I believe they're also displayed below, and you can use those to get to any part you want to be at. And you should also call your mother. She misses you. She wanted me to ask if you're eating well, and said you should leave a like on this video. So do what your mother says, and we should all be everything will. No one gets hurt.
And a comment. Needs more comments.
Needs more comments, too. We do need a lot more comments. And I believe that's it unless you guys have anything else you want to add.
No.
My mother before
No, we can get started.
Oh, you talked to your mother before you record. Very good, Loz.
He bought me some shirts. They were
Oh.
But they've got this little pocket thing with a button on, and it just looks like nightwear, and I'm like, not wearing.
Wait. Is this the one that actually has a functioning pocket, or the ones that they look like a functioning pocket, but they don't actually have a function to them?
No, it's a functioning pocket, but then there's like a big button, and it's all a speckled material. It looks like nightwear, and I'm like,
What?
Loz doesn't understand fashion.
no, I don't. It's true.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be caught dead wearing that, but I mean, it's a shirt as well.
Exactly.
I wouldn't wear a shirt. I hate shirts.
Is it like a polo
It's
shirt?
just a polo shirt. That's what he's wearing now.
Yeah.
Or is it... yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, so the main topic for this week is we did put debate. I think this is more just like a discussion.
Yeah.
For Isekai, low fantasy, and high fantasy. And I thought we'd actually start this off with, what do we really count as the difference between low fantasy and high fantasy? I think the easy one to describe is high fantasy, where everyone is just using magic up the wazoo, especially the main character, and is performing unbelievable.
I would say think more like a really, really in-depth D&D campaign, right? Where you've got castles and sorcery and kings and all that stuff. It's not like, we'll just go around doing some magic. But you've got that whole sort of semi-medieval setting. That's what I think of with high fantasy anyway.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't know. I was thinking oh yeah, I need to make a gun. I'll make it using magic.
I don't know if that would be high fantasy or low. So what do you think of low fantasy? What do you think low fantasy counts as then?
I think it's there's very little magic being used. There are very few non-human species. Magic is very sparse, not, around.
Can you give some Western examples? Because I think it's easier for the low fantasy. Give some Western examples of your version of low fantasy.
Well, I'd certainly say
Conan.
Game of Thrones. Yeah, Conan. Yeah,
So
Conan.
there are still some mystical elements. We've still got like
Yes.
a dragon or some dragons or a little bit of sprinkling of magic, a little bit.
Yes.
But it's not
You can't-
pervasive. You don't have people flying around on clouds and shooting fireballs at each other.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest, I'd say Harry Potter's high fantasy. Yeah, I don't understand how the wizarding world hasn't taken over the whole bloody world yet. And then just enslaved all of mankind. It doesn't make sense to me. Why is the rules of this school seeming to supersede the rules of the bloody world? And it doesn't matter. Anyway,
okay,
Let's
annoying.
give some examples. So Skyrim
ooh,
or
God,
Elder Scrolls.
God, I haven't played a lot of it.
I would say that's probably high fantasy, just based on my knowledge.
Yeah, that sounds
I
high
don't know.
fantasy.
So to you guys, it's the level of magic as opposed, well, at least to Xeno, it's the level of magic as opposed to the level of technology or the setting at large.
No, I think it also includes the setting, right?
But it's the level of magic
setting-
in that setting.
Yes.
Okay.
Lord of the Rings.
High.
Hi. I was
Yes.
going to be like, aha, finally, a quintessential...
But magic, magic isn't very pervasive in that
No,
world.
but there's shit tons of races, right? What's it called?
okay.
Magic is at all different levels.
Speciest.
I mean, it's not just humans and elves. They have dwarves, dragons, orcs.
Halflings,
Yeah.
Urukai.
Oh man, yours is really restrictive there. You see, to me, Lord of the Rings is a very low fantasy. I mean, yeah, you've got those races, but they're actually quite in the background. And obviously, in the past there was magic, but at the time of Lord of the Rings, magic is pretty much gone. It's like the last vestiges of it. And all those other races, they're pretty much gone. I mean, the dwarves, there's not many. The elves are going. There aren't any more. There's only a few dragons there up north. They don't really do much. There's no big ones anymore. And the orcs are kind of like, that's all that's left. And magic is just kind of down to more inspiring magic rather than them throwing fireballs at each other. So to me,
So-
I mean, that's
Like Gandalf the White.
So basically, with Lord of the Rings, actually the time setting of Lord of the Rings, is that just basically a case of there's just humans and that's it? Like,
Pretty
is
much.
right? Okay, well,
I mean, elves have pretty much gone to heaven,
yeah.
right? The dwarves are kind of diminishing. They're sort of in their holes, just want to keep digging. They make mention of it. They don't. They're just fine with doing that. They don't really come out, and then they never again rise. Though I don't think he does anything past Lord of the Rings. It's kind of like the Age of Men from then on, kind of thing.
Right.
And that's you've got like industry coming in as an example. Why is that frozen?
Yeah, we may need to pause for just a second.
Pause.
Oh. Well, there we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, because you broke it.
I did. I always break it.
You big breaker.
Right. Well, we're going.
Sorry.
Yeah, so my example of my quintessential sort of high fantasy is the Discworld, where the entire world is resting on a pack of 4 elephants and a turtle floating through space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have any of you people read the Rowan books by Anne McCaffrey?
No.
Okay. So in that one, it's kind of a weird, like a really weird mix of high fantasy and high technology. Like, you have people that have... It's so you know how in Dune you've got the navigators that can fold space and stuff? In this one, you've got people with telekinesis, among other people. But some people have really, really high telekinesis, and they figured out how to create an engine around that, like a sling sort of thing, and they can use their telekinesis and amplify it through this machine and just launch spaceships at super high speeds. I feel like that kind of fits into high fantasy, but I'm not sure. I think that's a question that I have later, is sort of, can you have high fantasy and high technology at the same time? Or are they mutually exclusive?
I think you probably could, but you'd also add a sci-fi tag to it at the same time.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But yeah, so your high fantasy is... I can't remember what you said now.
Lots of races, lots of magic,
Yes.
lots of happiness. Things just, are just weird and happy. Goblin Slayer is quintessential low fantasy.
Oh yeah, everything's happy in there. Yeah. I think it froze again. It did freeze again. There we go.
You break everything.
I do. Look, it's all cobbled together.
Why can't we have nice things now?
Right. So...
Anyway. Okay, so who wants to give an example of... I mean, I don't think we need to explain at all or elaborate what an isekai is. So my question to you is...
Not again.
Not again.
Not again.
Right, so who wants to give an example of... actually, who wants to say which one out of the three they prefer first?
Ooh. Ooh. It's a toss-up between high and low fantasy. I think low fantasy, in theory, can give you more of a wide variety of topics to cover, because it doesn't have to be just... You're not restricted by just magic. But then sometimes that is really fun, like, just exploring a world that is steeped in magic and how that affects their development along the way, you know, instead of coming up with... So, the show in the... Well, it's moved on now. But, the Executioner, Her Way of Life, like... Everyone there has magic, and they figure out how to use that to power their technology, rather than, like, electricity. So it's... I find it interesting in that respect for high fantasy, but sometimes otherwise it can sometimes be kind of dry and boring. I'll freely admit Lord of the Rings gets a little dry along the way.
To me, it's... Oh, no,
Yep.
Viper, which one do you prefer? Low, high, isekai?
I guess for me, it would also be high fantasy. I'm just a sucker for that kind of thing. I know, like, it can be, like, repetitive at times, because there's not, like, a whole bunch you can do with it, but I love D&D, and I like the whole magical aspect of shows, and how, like, animations can be shown how they do specific magic spells. I always find that interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Loz?
Oh, I was going to say, it depends more on the story. It depends what you're going to do with the story. I mean, you could make a very boring low fantasy, which is very rigid and doesn't go anywhere. Or you could do something quite interesting with it, like it's not isekai, but I swear it's one of these things that could just be I think we had it 2 seasons ago now. What was it? One of my favorite examples for this would be what is it called?
The Genius. The
Genius
one.
trying to sell his kingdom one.
Okay, give me 2 seconds if we find it.
Genius Prince raising a nation out of debt? Is that the one?
Yes.
Is that one? Okay. Yeah.
I can't remember which season was it?
I think 2 seasons ago? Or 1 season ago? Or season ago? I'd say seeing we just started a new season.
Yeah. Yeah, keep talking and...
Okay, well, I mean, if you set up that setting and just gave it to me as the setting, I probably wouldn't be very interested in it. You've got like a small kingdom, and the guy's just trying to do good for his kingdom relative to others, make some money, but his eventual goal is to sell the kingdom. But it's the characters that drive the story and their interactions, which just make it from kind of a boring concept into a really enjoyable anime, in my opinion. Because, yeah, the main characters there, who I've forgotten the names of, but they're brilliant. The interactions between these two, the prince, there's the prince and Prince helpful lady. And they're really good. And so I really enjoyed this, but it is very much, I mean, so I suppose this fits Xeno's one, because I suppose this lady here is apparently like a different race, sort of, but it's just like, you got red eyes and white hair. That's the extent to which you get different anything in this world. And apart from that, I've not seen, I think, a single bit of magic. You got religion, and that's about it. So
she's a troll, and you can tell she's a troll because she's got these tiny little cute nubbly horns.
Yeah, but it's the story which is more interesting to me. If I was to, I do find there's. I mean, me and Xeno were looking earlier trying to find examples of how many low fantasy ones you get in anime. There's not a great deal. They do prefer. It's just so much easier to do, easier high fantasy stuff, throwing fireballs at each other, flying around, or isekais. And then if you wanted to do I prefer a straight fantasy or versus isekai? Ooh, I mean, I do love a good isekai, but again, it's probably more down to how it's handled. Like,
do you like the isekai because it's a high fantasy, or do you like it because it's an isekai?
No, it depends more how the isekai is handled. Really, is what drives it down. If he ends up, I don't know, starting a shop, for no reason. No, it's like you get other ones where it's like it just falls off straight away, and just the fact that they're in they're in another world just gets forgotten. But some do a good job of weaving that into the world itself. I do like ones where they're not the first person in the world to be isekai'd, so that like it is an established thing in the world. I find that more interesting. There you go.
I think personally for me, my preference tends to land on the low fantasy. I was about to say low isekai, low fantasy side of things. Mostly because a lot of what Loz has said, often with low fantasy, and this might be a broad sweeping statement, people can either be brutally hurt or horribly murdered, right? Typically with high fantasy, I don't know if it's just the style or the target or demographic or, you know, what they're prepared and not prepared to do and things, but it feels really off the fact that, you know, I cast fireball at you. Oh no, I've been injured. I'm gonna lie on the floor. Oh, I'm hurt.
The people that die are the bad guys.
No, but they don't even die. Even the bad guys don't die. Like, we just finished watching Black Summoner over the weekend. Or I rewatched it with Loz, and again, like, you know, someone who has just lost the lower halves of his legs, like, you know, just, oh no, I've been wounded, and then just, you know,
Dark Schneider loses most of his body, and he's fine. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, you know, and I find that with a lot of high fantasy, that's the sort of mentality that's had. You know, characters that get horribly wounded just shrug it off as if nothing ever happened. They just like regrow their limbs and like, I'd love to see Gandalf do that. You know, it's like, oh no, I lost my knees. Just regrow my knees.
Okay.
So my preference is low fantasy.
Here's a question. You've watched Sabikui Bisco, right? Yeah. Did you watch it all the way through?
Yeah.
Okay. Not to give too much away, but at the end of that, when our protagonist does his, you know, Super Saiyan God move.
Hated it.
But would you say that series counts as low fantasy or high fantasy? Because it's apparently all like technological, except that, which is not. I think for the majority of the series, it's low fantasy, but up until the end, where it just like knocks it out of the park, you know, it puts it in 12th gear and just like, oh yeah, no, we're 100% high fantasy. It's like, what the hell? I mean, like, don't get me wrong, Sabikui Bisco had some stupid moments with like rust. People can rust. Yeah.
You know, but yeah.
Okay.
I don't really have much else to follow up with that.
No, that's fine. That's all I want to know.
Okay, so here's a question. The next follow-up question is, what do people think is a good quintessential example of their preferred genre, right? And because give you guys some good time, I'm gonna say Goblin Slayer for mine. I would also mix this with Castlevania. Castlevania is very much on the border between low and high fantasy for me. With Castlevania, like, you know, magic is very limited to who can wield it. You know, it can't just be learnt by anyone. Heck, we've got, I can't remember her name. I can't remember the sorceress's name effectively. But even in her own group, she is the only one that can use magic. Again, you know, vampires, humans, demons. Demons are forged, but regardless of that, I just feel that both this and Goblin Slayer are incredible series because I suppose they're just so brutal.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just, oh, let's go pick some flowers. Let's go blow up a castle and, you know, not have to face the repercussions.
We're not going to have to worry about a Dullahan coming to attack our city because we blew up their castle for the last 100 days in a row, you know.
Yeah. So it's like when something goes when there are stakes, there are actual stakes, right? And that's one of the things that I like about both Goblin Slayer and Castlevania. Who wants to go next?
I think for me, it's also honestly a tie between Berserk and, oh gosh, what was the other one? I just looked at it a second ago. Well, definitely Berserk, regardless, because it's definitely around like mid to low fantasy, and it's like you said, it's brutal. It's got this really good character arc for everyone involved. You get to really be engrossed in this world. You get to see how it works. Consequences are actually meaningful. People get messed up, but I mean, there is still magic in the world. It's just very rare and sparse, and most of it's in the hands of the bad guys, like demons and whatnot, that they've got to destroy.
What are you labeling Berserk as?
Mid to low fantasy. I wouldn't say it's high fantasy, because they're not really a whole bunch of races. There's the humans and the demons, and the only magic that they really have, is in the form of the god eggs.
Yeah, but Nasuth.
Okay. I should say
Xeno can cover his ears. Is what I was more meaning.
I should say it's low fantasy for the arc we see. The rest of the story that we don't see, the aftermath.
You can't. No. You can't just go. Oh, this little bit is this, and that's it.
Yeah, the anime. The anime is a mid to low.
No. I don't want to spoil stuff, but Nasuth, you're just digging a ditch here. That's so wrong.
You're talking about stuff
the
after
spoilers
the
button,
series.
Nasuth.
The intrinsic point of the evolving plot is what you're just completely ignoring here.
Okay,
but everything that we see is just completely normal. It's just
Loz, you need to go ham. You need to explain this.
You haven't seen it.
I've turned on the spoilers.
No,
fine, I'll take off my headphones.
We'll wave at him. We'll wave at him when we're ready.
Was ViperMenace?
Headphones are off?
I don't mind at all. Go ahead.
Okay, his headphones are off. Okay, Nasuth, no, wait, Xeno, we gotta have a signal for you. You got a signal?
We'll turn off the spoiler button when we're done.
Oh, okay. Right. The whole point of it, Nasuth, is like there's another universe bleeding in. The high fantasy universe is bleeding into the low fantasy universe. That's the whole concept.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. That's where they're coming from.
No. The demons and stuff are just there. They're just there.
No, they're not. That's the point.
Or they're being. Well, I guess they're being wished in by the god egg stuff.
That's why they can't act directly, and they're bleeding in and they're trying to take over.
But it's so rare. It's not like everyone has these eggs and can summon demons and stuff.
No. But that's where the plot is going towards. That they're trying to come to the universe and take over. The high fantasy universe is trying to almost eat the low fantasy universe.
Yeah, hey, but it doesn't happen until the end.
But it doesn't matter. That's the point of the story. Is that just because it starts on the low tables, sleeping in doesn't matter. That's where the whole. It's like, oh well, there's only a few of these egg things. Yeah, but what are those egg things? And they're high fantasy of the highest caliber.
Wait, didn't you say that Lord of the Rings was mid fantasy, or did you say it was high fantasy?
I would say it's
low fantasy.
It's kind of in fact, it's kind of the if anything, right? Okay. Lord of the Rings would be high fantasy that is bled down. At the time, Lord of the Rings, you're looking at low fantasy, whereas Berserk is the other way around.
Yes, at the time you see Berserk, it's low fantasy, and then afterwards, in the stuff you don't see, it's high fantasy.
But actually, no. In the world itself, there's fairies.
Okay, you've got two races now. You got fairies and demons and humans.
My skeleton man.
Skeleton man.
My skeleton man. I love my skeleton man.
Right? Isn't he? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But yeah. Again, that's not in the anime. You can't.
How many grains of heat make a pile, Nasuth? I win. Right. Okay. Let's move on. Let's get to
okay. Where's the spoiler button? There we go.
Is he back?
I don't know if he's back. Should we message him?
Back now?
You can come back now.
We tried to get you back to a signal.
Safe for you.
Right.
I demolished Nasuth.
Right, I'm just gonna point out. I decided I'm gonna go get myself a drink, and I could just hear Loz screaming from across the room. No, Nasuth! No!
He's very passionate about Berserk.
Oh
We still need to make Xeno watch it.
Right. Here's the thing, right? Both of them are really passionate about Berserk. But like, hey, should we watch Berserk? No, not yet.
This really good show, but instead I'm going to torture you with Overlord.
Exactly, right? It's just like, hey, do you want to watch Berserk now? Nah, I'm too happy now. I can't watch Berserk.
No, yeah.
I don't want to be depressed.
Yeah.
So you're going to depress yourself watching Overlord instead.
So many teeth.
Anyway, right. So we've just had Nasuth schooled in his own taste.
Yes.
Viper.
Yes.
Give us your suggestion, your recommendation for
high fantasy, low fantasy.
Well, which one do you prefer? Like out of
Yeah, I know it's a tough choice.
It is a tough choice. I guess I'll do two. Like for high fantasy, definitely Ancient Magus Bride. Because I love how they incorporate magic and just would it be low fantasy because it is in modern England and there's just, magic on the side?
See, that's the question, isn't it?
Oh shit.
No, it's very the historic mythological of Deep England kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So
again, kind of like Harry Potter is in the modern world, but it's still high fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, you've basically got an alternative sort of magic dimension on the other side in England, kind of thing. So.
Yeah, the Fae realm, and I guess definitely one of the lower fantasy is Ranking of the Kings. That is a really good show.
I know
there isn't much magic in the world. And basically, it shows only the queen has the magic, and it's healing magic. And the main character, the prince, Boji, he's deaf, and there's a lot of sign language in the show too. And he's just basically trying to be a good ruler, and I love him so much. And the art style is very charming, and it's such a good story.
He's trying to be the best boy.
Yeah, Boji is best boy. Best boy of 2022.
I still need to watch both of those. But I want to say Magus' Bride is on Netflix. I didn't actually look when it was up, but I want to say Magus' Bride is on Netflix.
It is on. It's on Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll for sure. Yeah.
Nope,
Either way,
it's on Crunchyroll and Prime Video.
Oh, I have Prime Video.
Oh.
That might be to buy, not to.
Okay. Right,
that's one of the misleading things.
Fair.
Evil misleading things. But no, I very much agree with you in terms of Ancient Magus' Bride. I honestly can't remember it too well, but what I do remember, I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm so happy to hear that it's getting a second season.
Nice.
Yeah.
Again, Ranking of Kings, it's just so good. It is so well done.
Very down to earth.
Game of Thrones wishes it was Ranking of Kings, right? I mean, then at least shit would actually happen. And I always find that, I'm not quite sure what Ranking of Kings is based on. It feels like it was some sort of Western adaptation of, or Japanese adaptation of Western source. I really don't know. It feels like Loz is looking it up. And I just think it's excellent because it feels like, as it's teasing you through the world, everything is normal, but stylized. So, you've got this absolutely ridiculously massive father character, and you just think, oh, that's just stylized. But then you find out more and more as you go through it that it's, no, he's a giant, right? This is his kingdom. Well, nothing's built for him, right? You've got all these archways that are regular people capacity, but but yeah, no, honestly, Ranking of Kings is absolutely fantastic, especially with some of the fantastical locations they go to. It's absolutely brilliant.
And I love how they do characters, because you come to dislike a few in the beginning, but then by the end, you've kind of grown on them.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
So that last image that was just up, why has that not been turned into a horny bonk meme? Go to horny jail.
No, Nasuth. No.
They are children.
Nasuth. Yeah.
Which was it?
The one where
Don't worry about
the younger kid was like bonked the older kid on the head with the
other way
training
around.
sword. Oh, it looked like he was
Other way
bonking
around.
the older kid.
No.
Oh yeah, he did bonk him.
Yeah.
No, Boji's the older.
Oh.
Yeah, Boji's older. There's lore reasons why that is.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I should have said the smaller one was bonking the bigger one.
Yep.
Um.
What did you discover, Loz?
Oh, sorry, nothing at all. It just seems to be completely original. Doesn't nothing at all.
Wow.
I don't see anything.
Even
about it.
better.
Even better. Screw you, Game of Thrones. I don't care if anyone listens and likes Game of Thrones. I hate it.
What about House of
sorry,
Dragons?
Loz. I haven't seen it. Can't comment.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
I'm not gonna watch it.
But Loz, you even though you had much to say about Nasuth's bad taste in classification for Berserk, what's your quintessential? I think you went low fantasy as well, didn't you?
No, I like both. I say more about the story.
Okay, yeah.
But I would
So-
say in anime that it's easier to find more high fantasy, as an example.
Oh god, yeah. But
Um,
what would you say is your quintessential for both? He's
Low
thinking.
fantasy, as I said, the prince thing. I know it's not as quite as amazing as like Goblin Slayer or something, drastic and decisive. But you've got armies moving, that kind of thing. It's very, very low fantasy, on that. As for high fantasy,
Overlord.
oof,
Shut up.
oof. Now all I can think of is Overlord, Nasuth. Oh,
You're welcome.
No, I can't think. I was like,
Skeleton Knight.
oh wow, that's just cool. That's an isekai though.
It is an Isekai. That's true. Yeah.
So is
Isn't
Overlord.
Overlord also an isekai though?
Yeah,
It is,
yeah. But to be fair,
He's
In the beginning,
disconnected.
it was.
He's disconnected so much from his real self that
True.
Oh, no, don't get me started on season.
Yeah.
no.
I-
Loz, this is your goal. Think.
No. Hang on. I'll describe it for Viper's benefit. How do we perceive what Overlord is to us?
Meh.
No. We came up with the concept. Remember?
What?
It's a DM playing D&D with himself.
No, that's actually what it is. That's not a concept. That's actually factual. The guy wrote, the author of Overlord, wrote it when he couldn't get a group together for his Dungeons and Dragons game.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's like
That's
a solo
fact.
campaign.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is fact. That's what happened.
A very
Oh,
sad, depressing
Yes.
solo campaign.
Best kind.
Right. So, Loz.
Oh, what?
Right, your pinnacle example of high fantasy. What is it? He takes a drink. He contemplates.
Ponders.
I think I know what mine is.
Well,
I couldn't remember earlier, but now I know.
The only thing I can really think of in my head would be without Overlord sitting in there and just poking with a stick. Is it right to pick up girls in the dungeon?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon?
Is it right? Is it right? Oh, is it?
Is it right to pick up girls in a
because-
dungeon? Yes.
You've got your dungeon setting, which is good for your Dungeons and Dragons. You've got your dragons. You've got lots of races. We've got different races. It's very MMO. I swear this should have been an isekai. It doesn't make sense to me that it's not. But the dungeon, the quintessential dungeon of it, gives us so much variety and so many different settings and environments within it that it's just covers a lot of ground.
I wonder. Hestia is technically from a different world. She's from the world of the gods. So
my
is it an isekai?
No, Nasuth.
Okay.
No, Nasuth. No.
Is Tron an isekai?
Yes.
Yes.
So maybe Nasuth's right.
Why would what?
Because they're in the same world, but like the users are like the world of the gods.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no.
He's nodding.
Oh,
Oh yeah, he knows wrong.
God. Shut up.
Scientifically proven.
with lasers
and railguns. Sorry, Delez, did you want to say anything else about that one?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I think so. I figured it out. My Xeno's gonna hate this. My actual high fantasy example would be Howl's Moving Castle, which I actually just watched for the first time last night, and I thought it was great. I thought it was really good.
Why would I hate that?
You don't like. Well, first of all, you don't like. It's not Miyazaki. What is his name?
Ghibli.
It is Miyazaki.
Hayao Miyazaki. Yeah, you don't like Miyazaki films for that to begin with. And
what makes you think I don't like Miyazaki films?
I do never remember Xeno ever stating that as a fact.
Okay,
Ever.
well,
I think
maybe it's because of
heresy.
how. Maybe it's because of how down he was.
The lowest level I can accept on people saying is like, no, they're okay. That's the lowest.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen anyone like, oh, they're terribly made films and I hate them. I've never.
Not to broad sweepingly classify all Miyazaki films like that. No, I hate Spirits Within.
That must be what I'm thinking. Spirited Away.
Spirited Away.
That must be what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I detest that movie, and like I hate the fact that is like, oh, this is quintessential animation. It won an Oscar. Like that fucking won an Oscar.
When things like Mononoke Hime and Howl's Moving Castle exist.
Exactly, and Cat Returns.
Yeah,
and
I love Cat Returns.
Yeah, exactly. Right? There's so much better stuff. It's fucking Oscar bait. That's all the fucking Spirited Away was. But regardless, yes, I got it.
Yeah, Howl's Moving Castle is an amazing high fantasy setting that's in a like not modern age, but let's say like World War II-ish era, but with magic like just everywhere. Even though not everyone has magic, it is a driving force in their world.
How would the three of you feel? Actually, first off, have all three of you seen? Well, I know Nasuth has. Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay. How would the three of you feel?
You mean the prequel to Immortal Engine? Sorry, what?
Yes. The one that stars Quiet Shite. Yes. How would you feel if Howl's Moving Castle was a series?
Ooh.
Be done?
I think it could do quite well as a series because I feel like there's so much of the movie that's sort of like brushed by.
But it depends. That's sometimes the reason is that someone can have a great concept which is more for a movie but would be spread out too much if done in a series. It depends.
That's fair.
You know.
Well, I don't want to take the Disney approach to Marvel films, but the I would say like there's so much more that could be explored about the world, about
how Howl became who he is today, you know, because we get that brief glimpse of how he got his power more or less, but we don't really know.
Situation.
Yeah.
But what's going? As Viper just said, the war situation. Like, you know, I'd love to see the events of what's Howl is going through while he's trying to evade the whole situation. Right, he's trying to keep away from it and things, and like he very much prides himself on his beauty and vanity and things, but you know he does lose it over the course of the movie. But you don't really get to spend enough time with him. You spend so much time with, I can't remember her name, main protagonist. Sophie, thank you.
Yeah.
You spend all your time with Sophie, but you don't.
And Calcifer.
Yeah. But you don't get to see what happens to Howl as the time goes by. So I think it could actually work as at least a 6-episode, if not 12-episode series.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'd be down. I mean, especially if it's actually done by the good side of Ghibli and not the bad side of Ghibli. His son is. I don't want to disparage him too much, but his son has not done that great on his own so far.
I can't remember which one did Arrietty.
I'm pretty sure that was the son, but I'd have to go look it up for sure.
I know the son did. God, was it Tales of Earthsea? And like,
yes, yeah, that one was so bad.
I thought the father did Arrietty, regardless. Both were
Arrietty was okay.
Yeah. Anywho, right, so we've covered that. The only thing I can think of now is talking about potentially bad examples of any of these genres that you want to potentially discuss.
Bad example.
I
Well,
mean,
High School
Isekai,
DxD.
Fuck you so much.
Geez, Isekai.
Oh no! I think Isekai is like, super easy to pick bad examples of. So should we stick with low and high fantasy for the time being?
Okay.
So, what do you think is a bad example of, let's say, high fantasy?
Ooh, I don't think I put any bad examples really in here. Does Drifting Dragons count as high fantasy? No, I don't think so. I mean, they're dragons, but there's not really much in the way of magic, yeah. Although I would say that's a relatively bad example of low fantasy, because it's just so boring. They're so focused on the food and everything.
I'll pick one, and I'm just going to say Bastard, right? I'm sorry. I hated this. I couldn't stand it, right? I think this is genuinely... I don't know if, Viper, you've seen Bastard.
The newer one, not the older one.
It's... Okay. I just... The... I don't know how to describe this. Like...
It's too revelatory. It's too into its own, thing.
Yeah, I mean, So there's basically one scene that just made me nope right out of there, which is in the 6th episode, where the main character, Dark Schneider, is being ambushed by an illusionist, right? She's this girl's using illusion magic and attempting to trap him and kill him off, sort of thing. But he realizes this quite early on, and he actually sets up his own illusion around her illusion. So when she tries to kill him, she actually kills the illusion. And then his next course of action is to bed her.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
As you do.
I mean, we're talking about, Conan and that sort of era of... I mean, even though this was made more recently, very recently, but we're talking about that era of fantasy.
But it's far too tongue-in-cheek, right? It's trying to make light of the situation that he has defeated her and has now... This is his enemy, right? I mean, one would think, oh, I know, I'll just grab a dagger from behind my back and stab him. Nope! She just goes along with it. Oh, I'm in love with you, Dark Schneider.
Dino, have you watched many 80s or 90s sword and sorcery movies? Have you?
It's so unnecessary, though.
Well, that's what it's aping, though. It's aping that era of movies where that thing, sort of thing happened all the time.
But even so, this is something that's I mean, the guy basically sleeps with everyone. Right? And it's just I just feel it's
where's the bad stuff come in? I don't understand.
Yeah.
I just feel it detracts from the whole narrative. It just feels like it feels like, did you ever watch the late 90s, I think it was late 90s, what's it called, Tales of Hercules with Kevin Sorbo?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This may be too young for... Viper may be too young for this.
Yeah.
But effectively, it was... Hercules turns up, says hello to everyone. The village is under attack. He fights the bad guy, wins, and then buggers off. Well, it's really formulaic. You watch one episode of Hercules, you've seen them all, right? It's the exact same thing with Bastard. The exact, you watch one episode, you've seen them all, and it just feels so substandard. I just can't get on with it. I don't know why Nasuth is giggling like a schoolgirl.
Because I love it so much. You bring up Hercules, and I'm like, okay, Kevin Sorbo was turned into kind of a crazy weirdo in his older age, but man, Hercules is great. I don't understand what it's so cheesy. It's the best kind of cheesy though.
I think that's the nostalgia there. I think
No.
I really think
I've gone back and rewatched it. I've rewatched a bit of Xena. I never really liked Xena that much, even though it's arguably the better series.
It is.
And I mean stuff like Briscoe County Jr. I mean that whole era of Sam Raimi cheesy TV shows. I'm down for. I think it's just a personal taste thing. You know, some people like that kind of cheesy, not that smart entertainment, and some people just can't get on with it, and that's fine. You know.
Well, this was one for me. Does anyone else want to go next with, you know, high fantasy or low fantasy? What they, you know, an example that they don't like.
I mean, I guess to tie in with like the high fantasy stuff, it's definitely for me, like you could have an amazing world and potential like storyline, but if the main characters suck, like their personalities are just a bored or they're just terrible, you can't get into the show or its story whatsoever.
Yeah.
Or if they're just highly sexualized for no reason whatsoever.
Gosh, I sort of brought this up earlier as a good example, but I'd say the execution in Her Way of Life, honestly, as good as the setting is, it sort of falls into what you just said. The characters kind of drag it down, and the ending, especially of the first season, is just kind of like, you've set all this stuff up, and now you're not really doing any. You're leaving us on a cliffhanger that doesn't really explain much of anything. But yeah, it's weird because I like the setting. It's so good as an idea. The execution just leaves you wanting. Should I like basically give a brief summary for have you seen?
No.
Okay.
I've never heard of it.
So essentially it's an isekai where the world it doesn't really give anything away because they tell you this in like the first or second episode. The people who are brought into this world are so powerful that they can actually like, and their power always corrupts them. So rather than giving into them, this world has devised a group that kills them as soon as they get here. Well, more or less as soon as they get here.
When they're illegally brought here.
When they're illegally brought here, yes.
Okay.
And so you've got the power they have is called like a pure concept. So you can have like the pure concept of white, and like you can just turn anything, blanch it completely white and clean, and including even like people's memories and stuff. It's really weird. But these pure concepts can get so as they get used, they get more powerful, and the people who use them go more and more out of control. And they think like, oh, I can make the world a better place, and what they end up doing is just fucking it up. There are these 4 great cataclysms. They're called like the human errors. That, you know, that are, I don't know how old they are. I don't know if they really say, but they're continuing to ravage the world today in their own respective areas. So it's a really interesting setting. I don't feel like they utilized it well enough. Well, you've also got the weird, like I said, they've got the sort of modern tech going on because people have been coming from Japan and sharing their technology. And obviously they're using it, they tune it with magic to work instead of Steam or whatever. But yeah.
I definitely think like the world's finest assassin one falls in line with that. It's just an interesting world, and I liked how they did magic as a concept. But my god, all the characters were boring.
I haven't watched that one, but Loz has. I know how Loz has.
Yeah, I could get behind. Okay, my issue with the magic, it was really cool at first as he starts to learn it, and then he's like, "I'm gonna make a howitzer." And I'm like, "What? Why did you? How did? Like,
this fantasy."
But the thing is, right? It's really cool. They have to, because he can't. Oh god, I never remember how this works. He can invent the idea of a spell, but he needs someone else to actually do it, write it as an actual, turn that into a spell for him, and then he can cast it. So you need both sides. Like he can figure out the weird part of it, but then to form it into a spell, the skill does it, and then they cast it. And it's really cool. They make like one of the first things they make is like a dagger out of a material which has never existed before, and it's like, okay, I can get that. And the spell is like it's like that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes it. So I'm like, right, you think like howitzer would take casting of it like, I don't know, 10 minutes to cast I want a howitzer? No, it's like 3 words or something. It's like howitzer. It's like, okay,
it's like when your teacher marks you off for not showing your work.
Yeah, it really is. It just doesn't. It's like she didn't make a spell. She didn't go. Okay, yeah, howitzer. Let me make that as a spell, because he can't make spells, so he can sort of do these weird things. Some of it is really good, like because obviously he looks at things differently, and so for instance, in a spell, a gravity spell, he comes up with a way of basically inverting it into a negative, which then allows them to gain flight and things. And he does some really cool things towards the end of the show, which, if you put spoilers on for a sec. That's so cool.
There we go.
Oh, I think it's really cool, and I hope Viper agrees with the final fight with not the hero when he beats him in 1 second. I loved that. It was so cool. He uses the concept from our world of rods from God, inverts it, gets a tungsten rod, sends it up into high orbit, and then just sends it down at someone in a game of let's have a duel, and he times it to the let's when this coin flip lands, we'll start, and there's no way he can beat the guy. This guy is like fucking huge, ripped guy with this giant like legendary spear, which has just destroyed the building he was in one hit. And it's like, yep. If this fight goes on for more than 3 seconds, our protagonist is dead. But he basically nukes him from orbit with a tungsten rod. It's brilliant.
It's the only way to be sure. Yeah.
But this is after, by the way, shooting him with the howitzer, but he summoned him with 3 words, and it didn't even phase the guy. It's just like, ugh. But as for the characters, yeah. The world setting, the politics, and the I still would like to see a second series of this, because I'd like to see where it goes. But I'm totally with Viper on that. The characters are just
The way you described that final fight reminded me of a game called I should probably take spoilers off.
Oh, I've got to make you watch just that bit if I'm gonna. It's just so good. It's so good.
Reminded me of a game called Asura's Wrath, where which would also make an amazing anime. It would make just a perfect anime. But in that, you can interrupt the boss is all monologue, right? They all tell you like, oh, I'm blah 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 blah, and at any point you can hit a button to interrupt them with a punch. And that's what that reminds me of. You just drop a rod on them from space while they're in the middle of doing whatever they're doing, you know.
I love the way it does it, because he just starts doing things without telling anyone, and it's just like, oh, I'm gonna have a duel with this guy, walks off, and then it's like, let's just wind back to see what he's done. It's like, oh, I love that scene so much. It's so good. But it's at the same time, the characters, the setting, the world setting, the world building is good in this, and I want to see where it goes, and I think there's a little bit of secrecy when you don't know all the abilities he picked at the start when he became an assassin. There's like a rank B ability that he looked at and said, why is this a rank B ability? This is completely OP, and you never find out what it is, and he hasn't used it yet. And I'm like, oh, so I want to know what that is, but we'll see.
Okay, there's certainly one that I want to pick on. I think, yep, there it is.
Where's my hand? Where's my hand? There we go.
Right. I want to pick on Blue Exorcist. Right. Viper, I'm very sure you said that you've seen this.
Yes.
The first 2 episodes of Blue Exorcist are freaking amazing. And then the rest of the season, I've only seen the first season, the rest of the season, it's a fucking turd. Right? Like the biggest, honkingest turd you ever had the misfortune of experiencing. So basically, it turns out that this kid is... Oh god, I'm trying hard to remember any of this now. He's part demon? Or he's the son of a demon or something? I really can't remember. And he gets attacked by so he's an orphan and he's looked after by the church, and the church is attacked by another demon, and his powers sort of awaken, and he fights the demon and he beats the demon, right? And it's time that he goes off to exorcist school, and then just proceeds to spend the rest of the whole sodding season in exorcist school. And that's it.
My Exorcist Academia.
Pretty much. It's you're not far off. And like, so Blue Exorcist got a lot of praise for it. It got a movie and it got a second season, which actually retconned the end of the first season. But I just couldn't stomach it. It's like, you know, you had a really amazing, incredible premise, and then your first instinct was to send the kid to school.
Because it's relatable. We want kids to watch it, and kids go to school. Let's set it in a school, you know?
So, I don't know if Viper, you have a different take on it, or...
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah, so this is, I'd say, another high fantasy that shot and missed, like, by a wide margin. And like, if it was a case of he was being taught the ropes, like, out in the field, like, he had to go to school and then had to go out in the field and then go back to school and then go back to the field, like, fine. But it's just the fact that they spend the entire rest of the season at the sodding school being taught how to be exorcists. And it's just like, you teased me with this amazing first couple of episodes and then you pulled this. So yeah, it's boring, and it's certainly an example that I hate.
Sounds pretty awful. It looks great. Sounds awful.
Was it remade recently?
No, it got a second season.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I was like, that looks too new.
Yeah, it got a second season. I don't know which of our screenshots are from which season, but okay. I think you know, it's time to pull off the kids' gloves. It's time to rag on some. What?
Oh dear.
What do you mean, oh dear?
Time to pull off the kids' gloves.
Yeah, and we're gonna rag on some isekai, because let's face it, the easiest ones to rag on are the isekai. And
I have a meme about that later.
Good for you. I think the one I'd like to discuss, but I think I'd like Loz to intro it, is Log Horizon.
Oh, well, this is okay, so the example of where I like the setting, the story just goes nowhere. So we have an isekai. High fantasy or low fantasy? I'd say quite high. Yes, we've got armies of goblins and things. I was trying to think of it. What did we catch out in the world? Because the probably thing, trying to remember much of what happens in the show that's not outside the freaking town is quite hard. Like, if you based it entirely on just the town, I'd say low fantasy. They don't do anything but sit around the town and build things. Ugh. But then, yeah, so this is a isekai. It's one of the earliest isekai. I think it was before Sword Art, wasn't it?
I can't see what year it is.
I want to get a good thing on that. Is this before Sword Art?
Looks like it's in the 2010s.
2010.
What, Sword Art?
Serialization 2010.
No, this
Sword
one.
Art.
This is 2013. We can look at the bloody...
Yeah, 20. Yeah. Well, I'm blind. I can't read it.
Blood, I can't read things.
Yeah.
Wait, which one was first?
Well, this one's 2013.
I think this one.
Vision Run, 2011.
When did Sword Art?
Novel series, 2002.
I don't know when the light novel for Log Horizon was.
2010.
Well, there you
Log
go.
Horizon's... Okay, fine.
God damn it, Sword Art was first and everything, wasn't it? Okay, right, anyway, so yeah. It's an isekai guy who was kind of one of the best people in the game, played with like an elite guild, comes into the game along with pretty much everyone else playing the game. They're stuck in the world and they no, they do actually start thinking about going back, don't they? Yeah, so stuck in this world and they have to kind of live with it. It's very boring. It sets up a good premise, and it's really interesting to see where they have to manage the new scenarios in season 1, which a lot of isekais don't bother with. They just go and they want to go have their adventure. This one is quite grounded in it wants to deal with who owns this building, who owns that building, who has rights for this, what happens when this event isn't done, how do we make food, what does food do, how do we get skills, so how do we cast our skills without having to go click on a menu? There's some really nice things done in this show, but it just kind of loses its direction as time goes by, and it's such a great starting about 4 episodes. Really sets up a really cool thing. If you finish season 1, if you can stomach more, stop, because you I really can't say any more than that. It has some good points.
Really good idea, but it just kind of meanders on. They forget. They have no idea where to go with it.
Yeah, and they start getting bored and bogged down in love triangles, and then sitting around talking about problems, and then it tries to do interesting things with okay, so we've made a city. What happens if someone else did something else in a different city? Then we have city on city wars, but none of this is real. But it is real. But it's real to the NPCs, and how do we deal with this? But it just doesn't get to the point.
Yeah, to continue what Loz was saying, the first season is basically what it's like for these characters to live a game, right? And it's really good at exploring all of that. The second season is tantamount to sitting in a room having meetings, right? It's
in a gazebo.
In a gazebo. There's events that are happening off location that are really interesting, but they don't spend any time on those events, and they're just constantly focusing on things that are really boring and painful. I'm pretty sure, Loz, we spent an entire weekend binge watching the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't even stomach 1 episode of the 3rd season.
They got onto voting, and we just said no.
Yeah.
There's a 3rd season?
Yes, there's a 3rd season.
No.
And then it's gets
really
bored,
recent.
and it starts thinking about, but let's give them maybe a thing that maybe they can get home, and by the way, there's stuff on the moon or something. I'm I just
Beta
don't
servers on the
care
moon.
show anymore.
Moon's haunted.
You had your chance, and now it's just what are you doing? Go back to the cool stuff with the characters and dealing with the things and the events of the MMO. No, we have to get to the moon servers.
But Loz, the wizards are from the moon. Anyway, so yeah, this is had a brilliant initial concept and then just flubbed it. Does anyone else want to pick on an isekai?
Well, Konosuba, I would say, is a high fan. I'm not going to pick on it, but I just wanted to say, because I was thinking about this in my head. It is a high fantasy, but it's somebody got high, and this is their fantasy.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong.
I don't watch enough isekais, because all the ones I watch, I either end up liking or I drop really early on.
Same.
Well, let's pick one. What did you pick up and then dropped really early on?
I don't know if any of those are in this list.
Well, we might have them still in the system.
I don't remember them offhand. That's the problem.
Did you see the Skeleton Knight one?
Yeah.
Skeleton Knight in Another World?
Yeah.
That one's great.
I stopped at episode I think 8.
Oh.
Okay.
That's
okay.
Fair.
So, what drove you to stop?
I think it was just nothing felt high stakes whatsoever because he was just so OP. Everything was just dealt really quickly.
And this is often why I prefer things like low fantasy, is because a lot of high fantasy, there's no stakes in it. It's just, especially with Isekai. Isekai are the worst for this because they all just I'm just gonna nuke this thing. It's wait, what? Yeah, I'm just gonna nuke this thing.
How many top 10 lists did we go through where it's like the main character is overpowered and blah 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 blah?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say I did enjoy like his character, like the personality for the Skeleton Knight. I did like him.
Mhm.
It's just so you liked the people, but the world didn't have enough tension, enough high stakes.
I didn't feel too engaged with the world itself.
Okay, that's fair. I think I liked this one for the same reason I liked Bastard, in that it just revels. It's so joyful in what it's doing.
I do agree. I think it's more that it does slow down a bit because it's trying to do some proper world building later on, whereas early on it's just cool things happening. Where they're trying to build something big, but I do completely agree that, and I think it's more. I don't know if it's if the manga was altered or something in order, because I could totally see that happening, so that the anime had a sort of a climax of what happens in it in the series. But yeah, by the end it's just like, and the thing I don't like is actually I'll give you this, and these guys will find something I really hate, is when they pull things at abilities almost out of their ass that they never explained they had before. Like it would have been good if, and this is what. Well, it doesn't. I suppose like Log Horizon was quite grounded, where they're trying to like cast abilities and they say what they can do, kind of thing. Whereas this is like later on, he just pulls out a giant summon from nowhere, and you're like, "Wait, was that an ability you always had? Why don't you just go around destroying everything with your giant Ifrit summon? Rule the planet!" But it's the same. Just to point out, if we're going to beat the things that are very similar, because it's very similar to Onion Knight then. Overlord did the same thing, where I think it's the end of season 3 when the guy goes, "I'm just gonna summon these 3 giant demon dog things, which are the size of small skyscrapers, and they're gonna destroy this army for me." Like,
yeah.
Why didn't you do that earlier? Why are you doing this now? Why didn't you do that in season 4? It fucking doesn't. I just don't get it.
I think for me the difference is that Overlord takes itself so seriously and Skeleton Knight doesn't.
Yes,
I still see what you're saying, and yeah, that it would be nice if they did that a little better, even in a comedy.
It's weird though, because like, I mean, I would like it if a lot more shows would take themselves seriously, but what is it about Overlord that the serious tone is just tone deaf?
Yeah.
Right? Is it the fact that the plot is nonsensical? Is it the fact that events are happening that are completely contrived? Like, is it fair to bully Overlord when we do say that there are things that it has that we want?
It's like picking on this. Oh no, I can't say it.
Then don't.
I won't.
Very rare for you to ever go like, "Oh, I can't say it." It's like, well, if you can't say it, then you definitely shouldn't. But I'm like, I think a large part of the problem.
I'll say that Overlord feels like picking on somebody with multiple personalities, because that's just what it freaking feels like when you've got the main character who freaking won't decide what he's gonna do. Is he like, I've got to be nice, and I'm still a human inside, and I don't really want to do all these mean things, and I want everyone to basically be a big nice Nazaric guild, and I just want to have my friends back, kind of thing? Or is he, I am sterile demigod of death, and I just gonna stab people and lure people into my traps because I'm gonna take over the planet to try and find people or something, so everyone fears me? Or is he, but I just want to have an adventure as I try and be my, like, hero persona, and I'm going to go do these things sort of really menial that are below me, but I'm going to do it because I want people to see me as a good person. It's like, these are just not the same. They're all put in the same character, and it's like, it isn't implied that he does have multiple personalities or having effect. They just try and cover it with this one thing of when he gets emotional, he goes, "Ah!" and then green energy flows, and it's like, that's never explained what exactly is happening there, and it still hasn't, and I don't think it ever will, and it's stupid.
What are we gonna do tonight, Ainz? The same thing we do every night, Albedo. Try to take over the world!
Green sparklies!
Out of interest, Viper, have you seen Overlord?
I only watched the first season of it.
And what do you think?
I did enjoy it, but I definitely agree with you guys on Ainz's personality, how it feels like multiples, and he just doesn't really stick with anything.
It's kind of crazy because like we're
on season 4 now.
We've watched 2 episodes of season 4.
Right. Yeah.
He sort of like weirdly admits that his whole grand machinations are to build a kingdom to which, if there are any other, isekai characters or people in the world, they would go to that kingdom because he's made this utopia. And like he keeps on saying about how he wants to attract the attention of other players
if they're in the world.
If they're in the world.
But like not give away that he's also a player, it's really weird.
Every single time I'm just screaming, go tactical nuke something. Right?
But he wants to be a good guy. He doesn't want to kill things.
His power. Are you for real?
He wants to have lizards.
Did we watch? Did we watch the same season 3? It doesn't feel like we did, right? He set loose those 3 hulking behemoths.
Well, yeah, because that's because they were going to attack him.
People.
He wants to create a utopia. Come on.
No, wait. Didn't he attack them?
I don't remember.
Because he was attacking the army.
You expect me to remember things from this show?
Well, there's nothing to remember, but regardless of this, it's so all over the place. Like, especially episode 2 of season 4, where you have absolutely no. Oh god, yeah, I know I haven't got to start yet, but just trying to understand the complexities behind Albedo's plan. It's just like, so wait, this is all a ruse? Then what the F was the point? I'm like, oh.
I miss the days of lizard sex.
Oh, so do I. Those much simpler days.
Oh, you never thought that sentence would ever come from your mouth.
How little we knew how good we had it.
Okay,
That plot, and like an arc.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't clever. It was like, oh, we're going to go fight the lizard men. Oh, the lizard men, like, don't want to die. And then they just give in. I'm like, that's fair enough. Yeah, there we go. We've got lizard men now. That's cool. That's cool. I can get behind that. Oh, these idiots. Oh.
Right. I think we should take the opportunity. Right. I know Viper hasn't seen it. I'm going to give Loz the opportunity to talk about something fun.
Oh.
Right. Sell Viper.
Didn't we already make me do one though? So I'm doing another one.
Yeah, do another one.
I did look right.
Sell Viper on Mushoku. Oh, fine. Nasuth do it then.
Oh gosh. So the thing about Mushoku Tensei is, okay, I always use this as an example. I've said it several times, even in this episode. I'm not huge into isekais. These guys showed me like the first episode or 2 of this. And then I binged through the rest of the available series. I couldn't stop myself. Yeah, in a night. Yeah.
It's like, we'll watch some more with you tomorrow, Nasuth. Next day, I've watched it all.
Yeah.
Well done, Nasuth.
The character is interesting. I mean, so he starts out as like a really sort of dregs of society sort of guy. He doesn't really do much work. He doesn't really work. He's a shut-in NEET, all that sort of stuff. And your typical isekai starter. But then he comes to this world, and like the world is so grounded and deep, and you get to experience him learning about it as he grows up again. So it's a really natural introduction to the world. And you start learning about the magic in the world and how the magic has rules. And even though he learns how to bypass some of these rules, it's not necessarily something unique to him. It's just that nobody else realizes they could potentially do that. They all go with the incantations and the summoning. And he's like, but
that
you don't need to. That we know of, yes.
Yeah, because do you remember he hasn't met like the top level spell
That's true.
crafters or anything like that.
That's true. But his motivation, like his relationship with his family, you get to see how that's kind of, it's very realistic. He gets like kind of estranged with his father for reasons. And when they meet up again, it's like this big emotional scene for other reasons that I won't get into because it is an incredible scene when he meets up again and they actually slow the series down and take time to explore that relationship, and it's so good. His motivations for doing what he's doing in the world make sense. It's not just, oh, I want to become the strongest person and defeat the demon lord. No, there's nothing like that. He's, as far as we can tell, he's not in this world for any particular reason like that. It's just, for some reason, this being that he meets like a couple of times sent him there for reasons that we don't know yet. It's
well, no, we don't know that creature sent him
that's
there.
true. We don't actually know that creature sent him in there.
I don't know why, and we don't know anything actually.
Yeah. But that sense of mystery isn't like it feels like the authors know where it's going. We don't know where it's going, but the author knows. And yeah, it's just the characters are really in depth. The world is in depth. I don't know what else I can say really.
Well, I might give it a try. It does sound interesting.
So good.
Yeah. The nice thing is the depth of the characters. They're all well-rounded. Everyone has realistic flaws, realistic aspirations. It's the fact we start off in this little town here. You can see in the background. It's like his family house where he grew up. At the same time, you don't. Though I wouldn't say we explore that region well at first. You do kind of get a good feel of it. The feeling of the world is so nice, and you see it just through sneaks and pieces, and it just feels like such a grounded world with such a simple start at first. Then he goes on a journey, and each time you go to a new location, you do get a real sense of the location and the world you're in, and how little differences, and then we meet more characters, and they're equally as just well-rounded and flawed, but interesting, and cat kills.
It feels like you're learning the world the same way you would if you were actually there. You see the world as much as, he sees the world as much as you would. He gleans this stuff from other people and hearing things and, stuff like that. It's all very naturally introduced. They don't there's not just a big exposition dump that says, this is the kingdom of blah, 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 and here's all these towns that are in it, and, so on and so forth. It's none of that. None of that.
And a nice thing, as I was saying about isekais and why some of them do well and not. Well, one, he has yet to open a shop, which is a very important thing. But the other thing they do is the way the character... It's a lot of isekais. Like, for instance, I'll pick an example of the time I was reincarnated as a slime. You start off with the voice, because he's a salary man, like a 40-year-old man. And he has that voice. And then it just all of a sudden does a change. And then he's in the cute sort of teenish voice that he uses slime, and then that's it, continued forever onwards. You never really go back or anything. In this, whenever you have his internal monologue, you have his 40, I don't know, I think it's 46, that doesn't stick in my mind, but something like that, 40 plus voice is the guy of the voice inside. Obviously, his voice when he comes out or he talks is that of a kid, so you get that really interesting dichotomy between the two times.
Aren't there a couple of times also, where he's he thinks internally with his Rudius voice? I want to say there's a few times where that happens.
There might be a bit,
which I think is an interesting, to show how he and his internal self and his external self are sort of he's coming to terms with that.
Maybe. I mean, I'd have to watch through and literally look out for that. But I would say the majority of the time, even at the end of I don't know what season we're on, you're still it doesn't just drop off. He's not. Yeah. He is still that person inside the new body. He is both. He is both of them. Yeah, it gets to a point where you see how he sees himself inside at a point, because he has to, but he's talking to this god or everything, and he's not. He's still the person he was before in the old body. That's his internal self. So I feel that does add a lot to it, that you don't forget who he is. Unlike some isekais where you can trade in your memories for extra starting points.
Do you want to talk about that?
There's nothing to say.
I just okay, right.
But one thing I would say is, is that we done for isekais and things? Because I was just going to pitch a question.
No, go for it.
Yeah, we could just pitch a question. Go.
So I would say a lot of anime does high fantasy, and I know it's because it's easier to do. You do get a lot of the floating weapons, magic weapons. In fact, that's Fairy Tail. I think Ezra has the ability to summon swords. He has them stored somewhere. That's her magic, isn't it?
She has different combat forms.
No, can't she pull anything from her room or something? That's where she's got it all stored.
I'm not entirely sure.
It's something like that, and that's that's an example of magic. But you don't get a lot of grounded, gritty, low fantasy stuff in isekai. I mean, one example. I know I would still. It's kind of alternative setting, but a bit fancy. I would say Golden
Kamui. Yeah, Golden Kamui is really good. I forgot to put that in here. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, that is a.
Yeah.
There's not really any magic in that, but it's still a good low fantasy setting.
It is low because it's not. It is kind of an alternative history, which is the thing.
Yeah.
That is a form of basic fantasy, I suppose you could say. But the only other one, which I was tempted to watch. Wow, I've lost it now. Where is it? I did have it up here.
That's another one where Xeno made me start watching it, and I've resisted the urge. I've actually managed to resist the urge to binge it.
Oh no, the heroic legend of Arslan apparently is. I was doing some searching. That's apparently another one which actually is low fantasy in anime. So why do you think we don't get a lot of, non-magical fantasy stuff in anime? Why do you think it trends towards? Is it a cultural thing from Japan, or just how they view all these things, or do you think it's just easier as a writing point? That it's just so much easier to get things done where you can just chuck in magic spells and we need some antagonists, or they're monsters, they're just evil. I'm just gonna see why people think that might be.
Well, I don't even necessarily think that's true. I mean, we're focusing on that a lot, but I think there's plenty of examples of non-fantasy, I guess. If you're looking for fantasy, you're looking for just fantasy stuff. Why is there more high fantasy than low fantasy?
Low, yes.
I think you're right. I think it's probably harder to write for.
I think that there's actually a desire in maybe the Japanese audiences for a bigger disconnect between
escapism
reality.
Sort of thing.
Might be.
Yeah, I kind of feel that, it's...
That's why you have so many isekais in the first place, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that a lot of authors, they push the whole high fantasy stuff because they're trying to be picked up they're trying to appeal to a demographic. They'll actually improve their sales, which will improve the chances of an anime, improve the chances of a manga, so on and so forth. They are picking something that they think that will be successful. It's like, why do we see so many isekais that heavily lean upon RPG systems, right?
Yeah, because video games are big.
Well, it's not just that, but it's also an easy introduction into it, so readers don't have to be introduced slowly about, this is how this works, this is how that works. They can just be introduced quite quickly. You look at something like Goblin Slayer, and Goblin Slayer, he himself teaches the priestess all the tricks about how the goblins work and their tactics and stuff like this, but it's done over the course of a couple of episodes. Whereas, Overlord, bam, right into it, right? I say it hits the ground running, but it hits the ground not explaining anything because it's got that expectation of you understanding stuff. Or an easiest example is probably Black Summoner, right? Black Summoner doesn't bother explaining to you how the world works or anything because it's a video game, right? It uses that concept. So I feel that high fantasy is to appeal to an audience that basically bolsters sales and things. But in all honesty, a lot of the time, people just don't know how to write for it. Like this, I suppose this is why the successful low fantasy ones are as successful as they are, because it's sort of like a sure win that they're gonna work. Because all the effort has been put into it at the early days, they know it's gonna work.
Yeah. I would say that even a lot of straight fantasy stuff, like anything that has like an adventurer's guild in it, feels like they're borrowing from video game sort of tactics and stuff, and as a way to make it easier for the audience to get into it. Like, oh, I know about adventuring guilds. I go there all the time in my RPG to pick up a new quest. And it's like, but do you think that would be a real thing necessarily? I don't know that without the most of the time. I can't imagine a world where they just have so much stuff that the bosses and whatnot are gonna be like, hey, we're gonna set up a guild so people can go kill monsters. We're gonna pay for it out of the government coffers. It's like, really? I don't know. It feels very video gamey to me.
What are your thoughts, Viper?
I mean, you guys made some pretty good points, and I definitely agree, like, on easy writing, escapism, and also just how it's easier for people nowadays with RPGs constantly coming out and everyone's playing them, and everyone has that basic knowledge of like high fantasy stuff, so you don't have to explain literally everything in a show. They can just go for it. But then that just makes the writing not as refined as some of the lower fantasy animes.
Yeah.
At least not all the time.
Yeah, not all the time.
What about you, Loz? Answering your own question now.
What else?
He's busy watching Overlord.
No.
Okay, so why do you what's your take on the reason why
I think that question. Okay, yeah, I think, as I said, it is one, it's easier because you got so much more options in a writing device, whereas if you literally just got, you know, mainly, let's say, dudes and dudettes in a field and they're just going to fight each other, you know, there's not a lot, right? You can't have a dragonfly and you can't have the eagles come in and save people. It's, you know, you've got to come up with grounded ways why people are doing this, that, or the other, or beat someone else. It's, you know, a lot more tricks you can pull out of your bag. You know, it's like, but actually in secret they were talking to this kingdom and there's a secret attack. You've got to kind of do stuff like that. But also, as you're saying about fantasy, I think it just appeals more to people. I think the reason why we don't see a lot of it, you know, as much is that, you know, if you're coming here for fantasy, you want escapism. You want a world which is almost as removed as possible, with just a few little groundings for you to kind of start your framework on that you can explore in from as possible. You want to see fantastical things. That's why it's called fantasy, you know, it's part of the thing. And so I think that's why we get a lot more of it. Also, I do feel I'm not an expert on Japanese folklore and things, but I do know that historically they do have a lot of like with as we had Magus Bride, which works on all the old mythology of England and things. You've got like brownies and you know, banshees and spriggans, you know, all these terms. They're all Nordic and, you know, ancient stories and things like that, you know, dating long back. And I think that in Japan they have similar traditions for that kind of stuff. I know I do need to watch season 2. Somebody recommended this to me years ago, and I watched season 1 and I did enjoy it, but I did feel it was a bit weird. I don't know what it's called. Oh, what is it? It's about a guy who goes around and he has to help people with weird spirits.
Mushishi.
That's the one. Mushishi. And I need to watch season 2 because apparently that actually has an overarching story, whereas season 1 doesn't. It's kind of like a lot of almost parables and things about, you know, what's going on and what it means to with weird creatures and things. But that is kind of an example of those weird traditional spirits and folklore of history of Japan, which they had years ago. Most civilizations, I'm not saying like Japan and England are the only place to have it. Most civilizations do, but you know, back in the olden days when, you know, when it got dark, it meant it was dark. Unless you were going to burn something, you're going to live in the dark. So, you know, you'd make stories about what was hiding in that dark. And so I think it harkens back to that, like in you know, when you're sitting in a cave, you kind of want to come up with a story of what's there. And that's why I think that these fantasy stories like to go crazy and off the wall, because you can explore what was outside the darkness. Oh, great, the darkness of the cave. What is that?
That's from that's from Dorohedoro, yeah.
Well, whatever. You just hope that's not outside you. Definitely.
Oddly enough, speaking about that, Loz, like if you really want a series that is very much based on Japanese mythology, right?
Watch Vampire Sea.
No.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no. It came out in winter 2020. We don't have it in the system, but it's called Inspector, right?
Right.
Inspector.
Yes. Basically, the plot is there's this god of wisdom. You've seen it?
That's Inspector.
I've seen
Okay.
I haven't.
And
What
yeah,
did
no,
you
actually, I completely forgot that. Yeah, well, you say that that's a good example, and at first that is kind of what they're going on about, and I'd love to explore that, but then they get stuck on one story thread, and they just
That
keep
for a
doing
long
it.
ass time. Yeah.
Yeah.
This
I think
is
it's getting
getting.
season 2.
It is getting a season
And
2.
hopefully, it won't get stuck on one story thread the entire time.
But yeah. But I still really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. You know, mix of modern day and Japanese mythology.
Had
and
potential. I think that was that's a anime original. It doesn't have a manga.
Yeah, it's on Crunchyroll original.
No, it's based on a manga.
Is it?
Yeah.
No.
I'm looking at the Anime Planet for it. It says based on a manga. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing a manga for it.
Huh.
All right. I could have sworn it was a Crunchyroll original.
Yeah.
Crunchyroll may have done that. It might be like, oh yeah, we produced this.
Yeah.
It's original. It's like how Netflix say, like a
We bought this
Netflix
thing
anime
from
series.
yeah.
No,
Like-
okay.
But is JoJo really a Netflix anime series? Is it?
It is now.
I'm with Viper. I totally believed it. I swear I saw
Yeah.
a Crunchyroll
I
thing. I was like,
could've
oh wow.
sworn.
Yeah, and I was thinking like, oh well, it's good to see Crunchyroll reinvesting that money and making anime that's original. I'm really impressed, and that's why I'll hold that example.
Well-
And like you show, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. I'm like, no.
Smashing that right now.
I mean, if they produced it, they're still investing money into it.
Yeah.
Did they though?
I guess.
Did they?
Did they though? Anyway, but no, that was one I actually quite enjoyed.
People will talk about it, and that
I
means
completely
money.
get where Loz
Money
is
that we. Sorry, that's from the last episode of Notice Me Senpai, which was I loved that bit. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. I think we're on that bombshell. I think we're done here. Let us move on with the rest of the show. So let's go to the supporter questions?
Supporter
Yeah,
questions.
Right. So as Rugal says, before I read out the supporter questions, I just want to thank you all for watching or listening this far into the podcast. Please hit the thumbs up button and leave a comment if there's anything you'd like to say. We read them all.
Please do. Please leave comments.
What the fuck? Rugal also asks, Old Spice or Pumpkin Spice?
Pumpkin spice under my arms and Old Spice in my pies. Don't eat deodorant, kids. Don't do it. No. I can do it because I'm a monster.
I thought it was shampoo.
It's shampoo, body wash, deodorant. They've got a whole line of care products, sanitary, whatever you call them, hygiene products.
Right. Toiletries.
Yeah.
Because I utterly hate pumpkin, it's going to be Old Spice. Viper?
I do use Old Spice, but I did buy pumpkin spice to put into my coffee grinds in the morning, so I'm gonna go with pumpkin spice.
I mean, pumpkin spice is essentially just nutmeg and cinnamon, isn't it? I think. Whatever it is. Yeah, I think so.
There's no actual pumpkin in there.
Oh God, no.
Well, why do you call it pumpkin spice?
Because you put it in like pumpkin pies and stuff.
I mean, it tastes good with coffee.
It does, yeah. I think they use it too much, but it does honestly taste.
But if I'm not putting pumpkin in the, what the?
It's a spice that goes in pumpkin stuff, not a spice that tastes like pumpkin.
Okay, let's. Why
This
would
is
you
what
call
you're
it
allowed to name things, America?
Yeah, America. Jesus. Right, let's move on to the How's Moving Nasuth asks if you could meet
cake infusion when I put lemon in thingy in there. Oh, we better get the cake flavoring out of the lemons. What?
Yeah, but you put that in more things than just cake. You really only put pumpkin spice in pumpkin. No, sorry.
And coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people will go, oh, just sprinkle a bit on top of your cereal. It's lovely.
Put it on your toast.
Add it to your smoothie. Put it on
Yeah.
toast. You see, you're not allowed to name things anymore.
Going back to it, How's Moving Nasuth asks if you could meet just one famous anime director, who would it be? The guy that did Cyberpunk Edge Runner. No, wait. The first director for Rising of the Shield Hero.
Ask him why he stopped.
Would you beg him?
Yeah, please come back, please.
And then he turns around and says, who is it, the group that only does one anime?
Madhouse.
Was it Madhouse that did season 1 of that?
No.
Oh. Okay. So it was the same art studio, just different director?
Same art studio, same publisher, just a different director, and I blame it all on him.
Yeah.
Viper?
I think I would choose the director of like my favorite series, which is Natsume Eugene Show, and I would just ask him season 8 coming out because it's been like 2-3 years.
Oof.
Fair.
Nasuth?
Oh gosh, I really, even though I came up with this question, I can't decide between Hideaki Anno and Hayao Miyazaki. I think Miyazaki
are a fucking monster. I
know.
swear to love of God.
I think Miyazaki
Why
would be...
either of them?
Well, I think Miyazaki would be interesting just because of the impact that he's had on anime style.
But he's
and I think
gonna shit on his son the entire time.
and I think Anno would be fun because he's insane. So trying to just like it'd be like trying to decipher the mind of a serial killer. It's so different than anything we're used to.
Loz.
I would go. What's his name? Yoshiyuki Tomino, who's the guy who did.
Really?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I want to know why he made the Shrike team in Victory Gundam,
Okay.
which is a team of 6 or 8 women, right, who turn up and they turn up and save the main character. Like, oh, this is cool. This is side characters. Then throughout the rest of the season, they're just randomly, slowly killed off. Sometimes
Nice.
horrifically. And it's like, why do these characters exist apart from you to slowly... He's called Kill Them All Tomino for a reason, which normally waits the end. But literally, this team, which is the Shrike team they're called, and it's all women, it's like, oh, that's really cool. There's some good characters in there. And it's like, and they just literally run the
Exist to die.
roulette. Nobody dies this episode. Nobody dies this episode. Oh, one's gonna die. You're dead. Right, next episode.
Nice.
Oh, you're dead.
Nice.
No one dies this episode. No one dies this episode. Oh, double whammy! It's just that's all they exist for, and it's just like it's so annoying. It's like you had some cool characters here. Like, I'd rather have an anime based on them, compared to the main character in V Gundam. He was actually depressed when he did V Gundam, but it's just like, right, so you took your depression out on let's invent this
audience.
unique team of girls and kill them all slowly, stupidly.
Alright, so
One of them dies to a battleship tank. It's a bicycle battleship. Literally, he went to the
Bicycle
executives,
battleship.
I'll show you a picture in a minute. The executives went, we want battleships in the show, and he went, I don't want to put battleships. I'm going to have it all grounded and round. It's like, they're like, it needs to have a battleship, and it's like, well, I'll give it wheels. And they went, fine. He went, what? It's like, give it battleship wheels. We're fine with it. Just, we need a battleship to sell toys. I'm like, okay.
Oh my god. Okay.
Anyway. How's Losing Nasuth also asks, how do people get around in the Dragon Ball universe? They take the Nimbuses. Moving on. Oh fuck! Right. Minty.
Bap snack.
Snack?
I have no idea what a bap snack is.
Anyway, asks, in the world there are small girls. Oh, I don't know if I want to read this out loud.
Oh no, it's fine.
Okay, right.
You want me to read it? I'll read it.
No, in a world where small girls are abducted to be trained into killers for the purposes of counterintelligence and counterterrorism, how much does Licorice Recoil's pitch sound exactly like Gunslinger Girl's pitch? The content is different, but man, somebody has copyright homework.
I haven't watched either of those, so I couldn't tell you.
I try to watch Gunslinger Girls. Right, but look, Licorice Recoil is fucking amazing. So, well, I really enjoyed it, but I can imagine it's not for everyone. So, clearly, the creators of Licorice Recoil need to sue Gunslinger Girls. Anyway, right. So moving on. Now that Xeno has finally seen the insufficiently censored model. Oh fucking Christ! Thaylien!
I haven't seen this. I know Xeno's seen this because he told me that he's like, "Oh, thank God, I don't work in an office."
Okay. Right, I'm just gonna tell you a little story. So I just want to remind Thaylien he hadn't written down any questions. I then opened up my chat to him on Discord, and I said, don't forget, and I had to abruptly stop because I noticed he'd sent me an image of a very no-no statue that apparently is produced in Japan. I don't know if it's a Goblin Slayer merchandise or what, but it's just no, you shouldn't send this stuff to people without putting the spoilers on it. Anyway, now that Xeno has finally seen the insufficiently censored model from Goblin Slayer's universe that I linked him, the question has to be, given that many makers of fine anime figures can be very fan service oriented or just plain adult stuff, how naughty would the cast allow a purchased figure? Wait, how naughty would the cast allow a purchased figure to be in their new?
If they knew.
Sorry, if they knew nobody else would see their purchase.
I mean, I don't really care one way or the other. I don't buy a lot of figures, so I guess all the naughty. Why not? Let's just go with that. It can be as nude as the day it was born, the day it was fabricated.
How naughty
would you like? So would you have it in actual sex positions? Would you, anatomically correct, or would you just have a normal everyday, figure of whoever?
I'd probably be okay with like a pinup.
I'm confused by this question. My only.
What?
Sorry, I've come back to just after pasting battleship bikes to Nasuth.
Oh, yes, I should see this.
Why?
Well, see it.
Oh my God.
It really does have wheels.
It really does have wheels. Motherfucker.
I thought they were going to look worse than that, but no, they actually. Anyway, right. So Thaylien. I don't know what Thaylien is actually asking though. Is it like? Do we care that the other members buy naughty stuff, or what?
Given the many makers of fine anime figures can be very fancy with them, so just plain.
Would you
display them?
See their purchase.
No, if you knew nobody would see them, would you get them if you knew nobody would see them? Or would you continue to buy just normal, mundane figurines, whatever they're called? I can't remember what they're called.
Dust collectors? Sorry, no.
Yeah, dust collectors, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even have posters on my walls. I'm just a sad individual when it comes to things. Things have to do things for me. Xeno, if you had a, I don't know,
Rhea Scremery.
You're gonna make me go get it, aren't you?
No, not at all. If you had a Rhea Scremery nudie statue or scantily clad, beach episode statue, would you happily have it on your shelf behind you when you're recording?
Well, probably not.
I think the point here. I think the point here is that nobody will see it. So
what's the point
would
of
you
having it?
For yourself?
Well, what am I gonna fucking do? Just like, it's like
the serotonin of buying it.
Yeah.
I don't get that feeling.
One day you will.
Anyway, right, I think that's it for the supporter questions.
We've proven that Xeno, once again, is not human. He doesn't understand human things.
All sentences. Right, okay, so let's move on to the comments. First from the comments from the Kanpai News. Rugal says, in response to One Punch Man cringe advert, I'm finally glad we can't hear videos on screen. Just to put out there, we will no longer be playing those videos because we had 2 copyright claims on them already.
Which is so dumb, but whatever.
Well, YouTube is... Yeah. And then... Apparently Nasuth replied, I strongly urge you to go watch the cringe commercial. It's so amazing in just how bad it is. Do we really need that added on here, Nasuth?
Yes. Everyone should go watch that cringe commercial because it is amazing.
This is from the person that wants to eat Old Spice in his latte. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, and now on to last week's Kanpai Cast episode. Strombus Voidshell says, I wasn't really counting this time, but I think it was like 5, but towards the end it jumped up to maybe 8. I
So
What's
this
the
was
context here?
this is remember last week I told everyone to count how many times I interrupt, and this is his numbers. No one else did it. I'm very disappointed that nobody else counted in the comments. Let's try and work on that, shall we?
Okay. I mean, we could try and work on you not interrupting.
No,
but, I mean,
no. That's not gonna
and then
happen.
T-Rex Paddock says Xeno's glass is not empty. It's just full of nitrogen now.
I think there's only supposed to be one knot. Yeah. That's
Okay,
the British
well,
for you. Their glass is neither half full or half empty. It's just full of nitrogen.
Cool. Right. Okay. Right. So, and then finally onto the memes, which you can find memes daily on twitter.com/Kanpai_cast. These memes are refined from the greatest subreddits of
Known to man.
Reddit, and yeah. So, cool. Let's move on.
All right,
do the
then.
thing, Now's do the thing.
So,
Right,
meme number one, I actually pulled this off of
Oh
Twitter.
dear God.
If you haven't seen Edgerunners, this won't make sense. If you have,
It's technically a spoiler for me.
It's not a spoiler.
it's not really a spoiler, no.
I mean, I kind of know what happened because I saw like fan art of what happened. So
Right.
Everyone should just watch for Edge.
On to meme number two. How it feels to search for season 3. This is for JoJo. Season 3, when thinking each part has its own season. And so we've got the Stardust Crusaders, and he says, I don't recognize any of these guys.
Wait, how it feels to search for season 3?
So if Battle Tendency and Phantom Blood...
Are one season.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Toothbrush exists. Normal people, Monogatari fans.
I vaguely know the origin behind this. Yeah.
I need to actually go see that.
Right.
Have you not seen the scene? It's a scene.
It is indeed a scene.
It is.
Right. So romantic comedy with actual progress, slice of life with a perfect ending. JoJo, Isekai fans, generic Isekai with the same plot they might already know.
Yep.
I thought you checked, Nasuth!
Well, maybe you got it from a different place. It had a different ending number.
Probably.
So apparently Zeno has this too. Right. Admit that Cowboy Bebop is better than Cyberpunk Edgerunners. No. But it's a beloved classic. It's peak anime. It's the artistry and storytelling is outmatched. I don't care. That doesn't make any sense. Too bad. There's been a lot of this.
Feedback is better than Cyberpunk.
It's a better Cyberpunk anime than Edgerunners.
Cowboy Bebop is not Cyberpunk.
Sure it is.
No, it's not.
They do
sci-fi.
hackings. They do hackings, and they go and they have augmented people, and you know it's Cyberpunk.
Fucking sci-fi!
It's totally Cyberpunk. You just don't understand.
Fuck off, it's sci-fi.
It meets all the designations for Cyberpunk.
No, it doesn't.
Onto the last one. So if you haven't watched Dahmer, this is he makes people watch. He tries to get a guy to watch some stuff, and he's like, "I'll just watch this until it's over, and then you're gonna leave." And it's like, I told you we're gonna watch One Piece, and then you could leave.
Oh no.
Well, you get to live for a long time at least.
Okay. Okay, so my first one. We have you 4-1. I like those odds.
Oh, darkness.
Heroes, Demon Lord, Isekai, protagonist.
That's so true.
Yeah. My number 3. Will you press the button? You get $1 million, but you can only speak using JoJo references.
Good grief.
I see this. I don't get why.
Yeah.
Why would you?
I mean, that's an easy choice. $1 million.
Yeah.
So.
I'd totally do it.
So what? Who defines what the references are? I mean, is that like you can say anything that is that a main character in the JoJo series says, sort of thing?
Yeah.
Or...
You can also pose.
Yes.
You could. Yeah.
But no, but can you only use the literal ones which are popular? Is what I mean, or do you have a bit more vocabulary than that? Or are you literally going to be saying, "Oh my god," every 5th sentence?
Oh my god!
Holy shit!
Would you like to order, sir? Oh my god! Okay. Would you like the pie?
No.
Oh my god!
No. It would be the squid ink pasta.
Yeah.
That's all, or anything from Tony's in part 4. So it's you got loads of choice though. So
so you can make any reference, even references some people might not get. You can just your
as long as it's a viable JoJo reference.
To be fair, everything is a JoJo reference, so I don't really see any difference in my life. You know.
Don't question Viper. Have you seen JoJo?
I'm so sorry, Xeno. I hate JoJo.
Yeah, but have you seen it?
I've seen a little bit of it,
That's
but
fine.
I just can't stand it.
That's fine.
That's fair.
That's fair. You've seen it at least.
That's fair.
He won't kill you.
My soul. Moving on.
Oh yes.
Then we had my one that Nasuth stole.
Yeah. I'm surprised you took this, considering how much you like isekai. I mean, this is you.
Fuck off! Moving on.
No, it's not. No. Can we go back? Can we go back?
Okay. All right.
Go back. Right. If you wanted to put Xeno in there, it would be Loz in the box. It'd be Xeno standing next to the box with his arm folded, just glaring at me, being like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, but
for you, anything else.
For you, it wouldn't be Isekai fan. It would be Gundam fan.
No, it'd be Isekai fan.
No, I watch all the random Isekais. The ones that Xeno hates,
even the ones that go to shops.
Why do I keep talking about freaking shops? Because I watch every single one and I'm sick of them.
Nasuth, right? Fair. We split up the shows last season. Loz had 4. No, sorry.
That's true.
6 different isekai shows. He had all of them.
Me and Xeno were looking through what was on this season. I went, "Where's my isekais?" He went, "There's an isekai. There's an isekai." I'm like, "Thanks." Let me go.
Okay, moving on to my 5th one. Right, long hair equals to more power. And then you got Saito Ando. Okay.
You don't realize that he's actually his hair is so long. It's actually like in another dimension. It's like if you took his hair and then stretched it from here to infinity. That's why.
Yeah.
It's like light.
His last one is.
His hair is traveling at light speed.
Yes, baby.
All those reaction shots. Oh my god, it's so good. Oh, it's beautiful. That's beautiful.
There you go. Yeah. All right. So that is it for this week's episode. Viper, it's been absolutely lovely having you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Next week, we'll have something. We need to work that one out.
We do.
And so thank you all for watching / listening. And now it's time to bottoms up and Kanpai!
Bye.
I ran out.